Welcome back. Before the break, we learned some of the family history of our guest, Jennifer, and how her ancestors were connected to several industries along Kentucky rivers at the turn of the 20th century. So, Jennifer, you also asked us another question about your ancestor, William, and his connection to the river and the Civil War, including a story of a boating accident and the naming of a vessel in his honor. Can you share a little bit about that family story?
Only what I've told you so far, and just that I know that they said that a boat was named after him, and I don't know anything otherwise. I've never found the boat or any information on it.
Okay, well, interestingly enough, we have uncovered some information, but unfortunately our researchers looked for military records associated with your William Dean, but were unsuccessful in actually linking him to military during that war. However, we did happen upon a fairly famous captain, also named William Dean, who was from Ohio and later died in Pittsburgh in 1890. He was also a reported shipbuilder, so perhaps there was a ship named after this gentleman, or it referred to his business that he started in 1859. So this William Dean was not actually active in service during the Civil War. So as an interesting side note, the Captain William Dean that we just spoke about, we actually just described what was the grandfather of famed novelist and playwright William Dean Howes, also of Ohio. So Howes most notably served as an editor for the Atlantic Monthly. So still some very interesting information, just a different William Dean. So during our search for your ancestor among the Civil War records, we did uncover this very interesting anomaly in the reporting of his age, actually. So while William Dean's death certificate reported that he was born in 1844 and that he died at the age of 70 in 1914, his presence in the census records gave us a little bit of a different picture. So your ancestor, William Dean, was found in both the 1850 and 1860 census records, living with his parents, Newton and Susan. William's age was reported in 1850 as only 3 years old. So 10 years later, his age is confirmed in the 1860 census. So can you find his age on that census chart?
The 1860 census lists him as age 12.
So this would mean he was only 13 when the Civil War began a year later in 1861. So this discrepancy indicates that William was more likely born in about 1847 or 48 and not in 1844 as was reported on his death certificate. But during the 5 years of the Civil War, he would have been between the ages of 13 and 17. The minimum age for enlistment at the time of the war was actually 18. But could William certainly have enlisted during that time in that age range? It's quite possible, certainly. So history tells us that young men under 18 signed up for service by simply lying about their age. This is an image actually of a 15-year-old Civil War drummer named William Horsfall. He was from Newport, Kentucky, and he was born in 1847, about the same time as your ancestor, who was also named William, certainly. This William is actually awarded the Medal of Honor for saving an officer's life. So the question is, did your ancestor William enlist before he was of age? Well, we couldn't find any evidence that William served, but the rivers and the waterways were important to the war effort, so it's very possible that he was involved in work that actually affected the conflict in some way, certainly. So along the way, we've discovered many Dean men in central Kentucky and the Ohio River Valley areas employed in work that involved the rivers. So researching ancestors connecting to the river industry can certainly be a challenge. So for more information on how to track them down, here's the Kentucky Historical Society's head of library and archives, Sherry Daniels, to tell us more.
Kentucky is a land not only bordered by magnificent rivers, but also dissected by many waterways throughout. As you can imagine, these streams and rivers greatly impacted Kentucky's commerce. From trade to distilling to transportation, our Kentucky ancestors took great advantage of the wealth associated with such a diverse waterway system. When researching your ancestors, pay close attention to occupations listed in the census records and city directories. There are many that may signify a connection to the rivers. Newspapers might mention your ancestor in connection to a boat, work along the river, or a river accident. As steamboats traveled the larger rivers for many decades, there were several incidents that resulted in injury or loss of life, which were often recorded in Kentucky records. Don't forget about military records, maps, and tax lists to provide even further clues about an ancestor's river profession. For more recent information regarding boats of the area, the Kentucky Historical Society Library has a collection of the Inland River Records series. And be sure to check with local repositories along those rivers. Many libraries, museums, and archives collected information about the people who were connected to river life. One large repository in our region you should check out is the Inland Rivers Library, held at the Public Library of Cincinnati in Hamilton County, across the river in Ohio.
The Kentucky Historical Society invites you to discover Kentucky's history with the free Explore Kentucky History app. Journey into Kentucky's past and explore the Commonwealth. Learn more at explorekyhistory.ky.gov and download the app today.